Somebody's eating something on the line that we can hear it click, and gubbling and jumping.
Is that you, Ken?
No, my dear, it is not. It's totally quiet.
It must be Tommy. No, that was Tommy, I guess.
And it got quiet right when you said that.
That was Tommy. Okay, Tommy.
But he's enjoying it. Sounded good.
Tommy,
I'm not eating anything.
That's funny. It's just something close to somebody's speaker. Tommy, you've been put under.
Right.
Yeah.
And I proved to my doctor that I left my body as well. It was one of the top surgeons in New York City at Lenox Hill Hospital. And they brought me into this room. I told them I was into fire dancing. They couldn't find my main stream to put the needle in, so he had to go in about 3 different times. And he goes, "Oh, he's a fire dancer. He doesn't worry about that," which I didn't. But they found it. They put me to sleep, and then they did the operation. But the second they started doing the operation, I left my body, and I was looking at it for a while. I watched it for I don't know how long, but then I left and went into the inner worlds, and I came back, and then I watched the end of the operation. And what happened was when they took the needle out of my arm, I opened my eyes, and the first thing the doctor said, "You can't be awake right now." I said, "What do you mean I can't be awake? I'm wide awake." "Oh, no, you can't be. It's impossible." I said, "Well, I'm wide awake." And I told him, I said, "I saw the whole operation." He goes, "How could you see the operation?" He goes, "I'll come to the room." And he came to my room an hour later. And I told him what went on during the operation, and he was totally blown away. And this is one of the most famous doctors in New York City, working out of the best hospital in New York City, because he did all the big-name people like Catfish Hunter, Rod Stewart, all the people from Cats and things like that. But when I told him everything that I saw, he said, "That's like impossible." But that's the ways I prove that I actually left my body. And you're not in your body. You're not your mind. You're not the body. Science will never probably understand that to the degree until you experience it when you're outside of your body. And when you are, if somebody blew up your body, you wouldn't feel it. It's not you're going to feel pain or anything. You don't see anything. The body goes in suspended animation. And during that time frame, soul is protected in most cases by spirit, and it's usually made to come back no matter what happens. So that's why people always come back. It's not because, my angel told me to come back or this, that. But spirit protects a person. If it's their time to go, then they'll just take them. But, I did that many times in different ways. I had so many operations, but I used to just leave because I didn't want to see the operation. But it's one way of knowing how real it is and how separate your body is from your mind, or what you perceive as your mind. I'll leave it at that.
I've had many experiences like that, and it's one of the things that you can actually learn. And of course, the Japanese and the Chinese and the Asian philosophies and things teach abilities to go out of your body and go to other locations. I used to practice with a group, and we would actually try to join together in a spiritual sense. I would go into a deep sleep transit. Then I could bring myself up. I could lift up out of my body, look back and see my body where it's at, but then translate from where I am or where I was there to any location in the universe that I wanted to go to, and then be able to if you were being in a fire or something, emergencies, what have you, you'd still have a string or connection back to the body, letting you know that there's something important that you have to come back to take charge of. So there is a training ability and metaphysical, and it's the thing to help you be able to translate outside your body and go places and go and experience events in other locations. So, but that doesn't mean you can't come to the conferences that we have and you're just going to come metaphysically and watch it all yourself without paying. Come and join the rest of us. We'll have fun together. Okay?
Well, Ahmed, regarding our space origin, if we are one, and many people are wondering if we're just, the game of life, and if this is just one big game like a virtual reality. Have you studied any of that or had any of those people on your radio shows yet that talk about this as a virtual reality?
Well, yeah. I mean, a lot of people think it's virtual reality. If you look at the universe out there, it looks like the synapses of a brain. We could just be the thought in God's mind.
It does look like a synapses in the brain. If we're just thoughts, thoughts are things. Well, some people do believe that we are the expanse. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier about in order for things to manifest in this physical world of matter, it has to have thought behind it. We've proven that with the double slit experiment. So before we got here, somebody had to be thinking about something in order for the universe to exist.
Well, it's a theory, and I don't know that anybody can tell anybody else or prove it to anybody else that there's something before you observe it there. It's it's like when a tree falls in a forest, if there's no one there to hear it, sort of like that's with sound. Sight, and I guess we're saying our senses. And if we're dead, do our senses exist? And those that have been under anesthesia or whatever that come back out, they can't really usually say where they've been unless it's like Tommy or I say that we travel out of body. Some people get jolted out of their body and they learn that way, or they've had their breath knocked out. But I've tried to explain to people that spinning around dizzy or falling and knocking your breath out isn't the same as being out of body. This is a totally different feeling of being able to see everything outside of yourself, looking at yourself. I don't know that there is a possible way, but bilocation is one way I explain it to myself. And each individual has to find a way to explain the whole entire expanse, universe, God, Godmother, the wholeness of what we are as an individual. It's inside and it's outside. And it's a very complicated, deep thought, and yet some of us in this world, we know there's universal laws. So somewhere, like Ahmad, like you said, in this, if it's inside God's brain, that looks like the universe is connected out there, the same as the neurons in our brain, and they can't possibly figure out how many we even have right now. The last chartered place is to find where the origin of all of us exists, inside our own minds, not to mention the expanse as far out as you can go. And they're learning that the universal grid of whatever they think they can see in the points of light, that is not dark matter, but everything is expanding, dark matter, dark energy, the omniverses that we know of, or the universes, or whatever you want to say. But most of science still talks about one universe. Have you noticed that? And I'll go down the line. Ken, start with you. Have you noticed when you're hearing or watching YouTubes or anything, they'll talk about multiverses or metaverses, but they won't really commit yet. And when you think of it, do you think of only one universe expanding, or do you think of many? Ken?
I look at it as other dimensions.
Okay.
That's, yes, the universe, as we look at it, and this being that we are right now, we can connect with it, but then we realize, if you realize that another space and time, that there's another universe. I think it's really hard to grasp and wrap your mind around the metaphysics and even the spiritual connections with being able to know who you are, what you are, and where you are, and discovering that we're not alone in either one of these. So and then there's the get into the religious side of things that we need to have a program, I guess, that you want to know exactly where you are, where is heaven, where is hell, what are you learning at this stage, and do we have to repeat it? Do we have to go over again? These are things that have challenged people for ever since this existence have thought of. So I have no problem with dealing in translocation. I'm quite sure that I have existed at other time zones and other dimensions on other planets and other locations. So I hope the big brains out there don't say, "Oh, these guys are wacky. They're nutcakes." I think it's a matter of just being willing to search out and understand a little more of the existence that we have here and what we are as human beings and what we need to learn. And I'd hate to do over some of the stuff that I screwed up in this lifetime. And we're quick to accept credits for the good things we did. With the few times we've done something stupid, we just say, "Would you please erase that from my record? I don't want to hear about that again." So I don't know if that gave you any input. Yeah.
No, you made a good point, because you brought up some good points, like we were gone full circle to XYZ, 3 points versus 6 points, or you need 6 for 3. Or the fact is, you mentioned heaven and hell, and a lot of people use those, at least in America, probably around the world, for cultures.
Okay.
But we study cultures and the words we use. But let's let Mad, can you get in on this one, weigh in on this?
About
what we're talking about here?
Other dimensions?
Well,
or
however you
realities?
explain universes, or whatever that is. We've got to learn, because we all use different words, and it's getting down to the wire where we're having to say, where are we and what are we? And we really don't know. The bottom line is nobody can really explain it. So we're trying to find a way to talk to each other. Universes versus dimensions, are they the same?
I don't think we'll ever know in this reality. I don't think the human mind has the capacity to really understand what's the expanse that's out there. I mean, we have a hard time dealing with just how far it is to Jupiter, let alone what the actual universe or multiverse is out there. We're not physically able to in this reality. So that's an unanswerable question. It's like, what came before the Big Bang? I mean, we cannot answer that question. All we can have is theories.
All true.
Right. Tommy, you want universes, multi-dimensions, or both? Or
all right.
For
me, for me,
well,
it's so different, because when you say multiverse and universe, that's still a physical dimension. I mean, the government, the science say, well, first we have 3 dimensions, we have and all these higher dimensions. But when you leave the lower realms, I talk about realms, which is different than dimensions. Dimension, like we have 3 dimension, 4 dimension, 5 dimension, 6 dimension. Well, there's 12 dimensions in this reality. But again, the astral plane, which they don't talk about because they don't understand it, has the same amount of realms, meaning you could go to different levels. So when people leave their bodies, traveling the universe and galaxies is nowhere compared to the higher realms, where there's multiple no limit, multiple things to do, which are so different because you're not in a physical body anymore, and you don't have the idea and mindset that a body has. To me, reality in the physical world is useless. Without spiritual awareness, or you can say religious awareness, there's not much difference between spiritual and religious, only the fact that one deals with one God and one deals with the universe. That's basically the difference. But outside of that, when you go beyond that and you start exploring for yourself, mind has nothing to do with it. Mind can't perceive all that. But, I mean, if you want to talk about dimensions, when you go back in time, go forward into time, like Al Bielek, who I was pretty close to, and I feel he's one of the few people that actually went back in time and forward. And when we talk about this world will not be here the way it is in 20 years. We will be completely run by robots. We will be completely unpopulated. There will be very few people here, and that's going to be a solid fact if you want to go by any psychic reading, any religious reading, any Egyptian reading, Mayan reading, or Hopi reading. And basically it's because mankind has not moved forward in any way. The only thing man understands...
What's that got to do with if there's other universes or multiverses?
Well,
see,
that has nothing to do with anything. We are that. I mean, when you go to universes, in the physical reality, you're going to Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, some other galaxy. That's nothing. It's just like going down the beach and counting the grains of sand. When you leave the whole lower realm,
what God, what they perceive as reality, and deal with a higher level of awareness, you're dealing